to, well, we touched on some of this, but I just want to go through the 4 rules we decided to focus on. There's many more, but I rather want to go through some, so that those might stick to your brains, and instead of like overpower you with too many. So, first one, independent clauses. Who wants to read this sentence, or these sentences? Okay.
Some people like to play soccer, others like to play football.
Okay. Semicolon is used to link 2 independent clauses together. It gives an equal position and rank of them, and it becomes more balanced. So, this example then, how do you revise it?
Semicolon, you can play soccer than others.
Yes. And after you use a semicolon, you use a lowercase. You don't use a capital there. Okay. The second one is if there's a connector. So, who wants to read this one? Okay.
Barack Obama was able to reach out more voters with his vision and policies. As a result, Senator Obama won the 2008 presidential election.
Okay. And what's the connector in this one?
As a
result.
Okay. And other words that you can also use is however, moreover, furthermore, thus, as Nadia mentioned. So if you have one of those, you can use a semicolon to connect them together as well. So just not jump this one. The third one is about lists and commas. So who wants to read both of these? Anybody?
My children can choose between 2 types of sports, either play soccer, which is a team sport and inexpensive, or they can do golf, which is an individual and expensive sport. The representatives were from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Chicago, Illinois, and Monterey, California.
Okay, so take the first sentence here. What do you think about the sentence the way it is written now? Is it confusing at all?
You can put semicolon between inexpensive and all.
What about the second one here? Do we need to use semicolons at all? Might be a trick one. No?
What about at Monterey? After Monterey?
No.
No?
Yeah, I think you can use semicolon in the second sentence.
Okay, so here you link lists where items contains comma. If you look at this, there are, my children can choose between 2 types of sports. First one is either play soccer, which is a team sport and inexpensive.
And then
Semicolon, or they can do golf. Because there's 2 different ones there. So it's, since the sentences use multiple commas, it's to divide up so it becomes more clear what it's together, even if it's within the same sentence. So in this one here,
after Minnesota and after Illinois, semicolon. Yeah.
because Minneapolis, Minnesota is together, Chicago, Illinois is together. So you don't, so it makes it a little bit more
Easier
less
to read.
confusing, easier, yeah. So here are the ones where you put in,
My children.
and then the revised one is down there.
How
where
do
you
you
put in
Because the
semicolon.
first one still doesn't have a semicolon.
Yes, because this is still example. This is the revised one.
Oh, okay.
And here,
Uh-huh.
semicolon.
Yeah.
Which is a team sport.
And the last one we want to go through is if there's long clauses using commas.
I'm sorry, how do you revise the previous one that says Monterey? I didn't see that one.
This one?
Yeah.
This one you put semicolons after Minnesota
Uh-huh.
and Illinois.
It's comparison to.
Because there's 3 different places, and we talk about city first, but we link it to the state. And then it's a new city, state, semicolon, new city, state.
Yeah, and if you leave it just like that with commas, if at the beginning I didn't know that Minneapolis and Minnesota were different.
Mhm. So-
Were the same thing. I thought they were different states. So
Yeah, so if you limit,
I think that's a kind of confusion.
so if you limit this way, it could technically mean that it's
They are
6
different
places.
bridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
It says 6. Okay.
Yeah, there's 6 different places.
So
So that
even
belongs to less in commas, yeah? That.
Yes, you use less commas. Use semicolons instead.
so even use semicolon, you still can put or
Yes, if it's for lists.
for the list.
Yes, because you decide, you do it so you cut off which parts of the sentence belongs to each other.
So the same as end as well if
Mhm.
it's a list.
Yes. The last one is long clauses. So who wants to read this one here? Anybody?
Some politicians put their main focus on poverty, healthcare, and gun control. The others choose to focus on tax breaks for the rich, ease of airport security, and cut down on earmarking funds.
So as you can see, we're using a semicolon here. But can anybody explain why? From what we've been talking about earlier.
To avoid sprawl, maybe.
Yeah, it's a lot like the previous one. To make it clear in the sentence which parts belong to each other. But you could technically use a comma here as well.
Yeah.
Well, not if you put a comma there, I mean, you can't use a comma there. If you put a comma there, what would it sound like then? Some politicians put their main focus on poverty, healthcare, and gun control, but others choose to focus on tax breaks. You put a semicolon there to create a break without really creating a break, because it's still within the same sentence.
You mean the sentence in the behind can still have a kind of connection
Yes.
with the sentence before, right? But I was confusing here because but others in here you can also say however choose to focus on tax breaks.
Mhm.
So
I don't know whose phone that is, but well, it's just to show. This one is just to show that you can use.
Yeah, they forgot the jacket.
Looking for answer and say that it's in the classroom.
Just
Maybe
turn it
it's
on.
fine.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah,
We decided to use but here just to show that you can use a semicolon in front of but it's to also to cut the sentence in half to show which part belongs together here and what belongs together there.
But
As Nadia said, 99.9% uses comma. But yes.
yeah, I would revise it with that period and say, however, comma, others choose to focus because it's a very long sentence.
That is true. But instead, if you use however, what could you use instead of a period?
Semicolon.
Semicolon.
Yes, because however is a connector. So you can use however there then. No,
Yeah.
semicolon in front of however.
No, I know. I would have to use a period and then, however, comma, others choose to focus on tax breaks.
Yeah, you can do that too, but you know there are a lot of. It's just semicolon is also a very useful tool for those who actually love long sentences, and so then in order to because you can actually grammatically it would be correct just to put a comma here, but then your reader would be so confused with what having like 5 commas in one sentence. It's just too confusing, and semicolon is a great tool because you can divide but at the same time separate two ideas which are linked closely together. But definitely you can have a comma here. It's also be grammatically correct to start a new sentence. So it just depends also on your style of writing, and maybe like your previous sentences were too short, then you kind of want to make a long one, or you just want to conclude it with just one sentence, just your concluding idea. So it also depends where indeed in your writing this sentence would be, but it's one of the tools.
I guess it's more also about the